The message the president wanted to send to the public, to the press, to Capitol Hill. He wants more money for defense, more money for border enforcement, more money for law enforcement generally, more money for the vets, more money for school choice, and then to offset that money with savings elsewhere so that all of that is done without an additional dollar added to the deficit. As I've mentioned before, this budget does not balance the budget. This budget simply reallocates and reprioritizes spending as any family or business would do. This budget does not, for those of you who were not here last week, this budget does not address the big picture items such as policy changes, revenue flows, tax policy, mandatory spending. This is simply the top line spending budget. It's why we call it the budget blueprint and not the full budget. That full budget, which will contain all the rest of those pieces and parts, will be released in May.
I believe what Trump has done is he's outlined what his priorities are. He hasn't. It's not a budget. It's not that at all. It's what we call a blueprint, is what he sent over to Congress, and this is basically just a set of recommendations that he's making to Congress in terms of what his priorities are. And I don't think it's wrong for the media to report on what Trump's priorities are. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think what's wrong is when the media tries to whip up hysteria over basically what's just a proposal. And I've since that budget came out this past Thursday, I've read a number of headlines that make it appear or make it seem that these cuts are just automatically going to happen. It's not true. It's just not true. And the bottom line is Congress, at the end of the day, is not going to allow the State Department's budget to get cut 29 cents out of every dollar. It's not going to happen. You're not going to see Congress allow the kind of cuts that Trump has suggested in a number of agencies. So you say, okay, well, why is Trump making the suggestions that he's making? This is what he campaigned on. He campaigned for a year and a half on the fact that he was going to come in and take a meat cleaver to government, and that he was going to slash every single budget. He even told some people that he might completely eradicate certain agencies and departments. This is what he ran on. And he also said that once he got elected, he was going to do all he could to beef up spending on national security. That's why you see increases to the Defense Department and Homeland Security. So I think what Trump is doing is politically smart. He's sending a blueprint or a budget proposal over to Congress that aligns perfectly with what he campaigned on for a year and a half. But he knows, and Mick Mulvaney, who's a seasoned budget professional, Mick Mulvaney also knows that Congress is not going to approve all those cuts. It won't happen. So right now, I've not wrote a lot about the budget. I've not been out talking about the budget because guess what, guys? We don't have a budget. But when we do have a budget, then I think we've got something.